Welcome back, coin enthusiasts and treasure seekers from all around the world, to your favorite channel where rare finds, unbelievable coin values, and jaw-dropping discoveries in the world of U.S. currency come to life. Today we have something so remarkable, so intriguing, and so outrageously valuable that it has stunned collectors, historians, and numismatic experts alike. A single 1989 Washington quarter dollar that has surfaced in the collector's community and made headlines for reportedly being valued at an astonishing $5 million due to a multitude of unbelievable minting mistakes, striking anomalies, and one-of-a-kind production errors that have elevated this otherwise ordinary 25-cent piece into the stratosphere of numismatic legend. And as we dive into the incredible story behind this coin, prepare to be captivated by the deep layers of complexity, history, and minting oddities that have made this specific 1989 quarter the stuff of dreams, the holy grail for collectors, and a perfect storm of rarity, curiosity, and historic worth that makes it a truly once-in-a-lifetime coin. Now, the year 1989 was not typically considered a turning point in U.S. quarter minting, and most quarters from that era were minted in large quantities for circulation with little fanfare, especially the Philadelphia minted ones denoted by the P mint mark, with hundreds of millions produced for commerce, and typically they carried little to no premium in circulated condition. But in rare, almost mythic cases, certain examples have emerged that defy expectations, coins that somehow slipped through the cracks of quality control at the U.S. Mint and were unknowingly released into circulation despite having jaw-dropping errors. And this particular 1989 quarter is such an example, but not just any example. It is the definition of numismatic impossibility, featuring a convergence of multiple rare errors all packed into a single coin that by all accounts should not even exist, and yet, against all odds, it does, and that is why it has commanded the astronomical price tag of $5 million in the hands of elite collectors who understand the magnitude of such a find. Starting with its composition, the first shocking detail is that this specific quarter was not struck on a standard copper-nickel-clad planchet, but on an experimental transitional planchet that appears to be a leftover blank from an earlier or future minting program, potentially even a pure silver or a unique alloy test piece that was accidentally mixed into the production run of quarters, giving it a metallic composition completely distinct from the rest of its kind, which already makes it an anomaly of immense interest to metallurgists and coin scientists. And upon further analysis, the weight and density of the coin do not match standard specs, pointing to a planchet that should have never been used for a quarter in the first place, which instantly multiplies its value. And if that weren't enough, it features a dramatic double strike error where the coin was struck not once but twice, with the second strike significantly off-center, causing an eye-catching misalignment that distorts both Washington's portrait on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse in such a way that it creates an artistic yet accidental masterpiece that captures the imagination of anyone who sees it. And layered onto that is a rare brockage effect on one side, where instead of a normal reverse design, a mirror image of the obverse appears in negative relief, caused when another coin got jammed in the press and impressed its image backward onto this quarter, a stunning and rare phenomenon that is sought after by collectors, but almost never seen in such clarity and magnitude as on this coin. And there's more. The coin also displays a dramatic die clash, meaning the dies themselves smash together without a planchet between them, transferring parts of their design onto each other and then onto the coin, resulting in ghostly images where you wouldn't expect them, such as faint eagle wings behind Washington's head and parts of his profile appearing faintly on the reverse, creating a visual mystery and layering of design elements that's both eerie and beautiful. But we're just getting started, because under microscopic inspection, the coin also reveals clear signs of a rotated die error, with the reverse misaligned by almost 90 degrees when flipped, another minting mistake that's desirable on its own, but almost unheard of in combination with all these others. And it doesn't end there, because an ultra-rare off-metal strike component comes into play. The surface of the coin has blister-like bubbles and planchet laminations that suggest a major impurity or improper bonding of the clad layers, causing the coin to appear as though it is erupting in places or flaking, which not only adds to its uniqueness but confirms the theory that the wrong or experimental material was used. And as if the physical errors weren't enough to rocket this coin to fame, the mint mark P itself is mispunched in a dramatic way. It is tripled, with 3 overlapping impressions of the letter P visible under magnification, a spectacular example of a triple-punched mint mark that adds yet another layer of jaw-dropping rarity. And combined with all the other errors, this mint mark alone would be enough to garner serious interest. And to add historical intrigue, there is speculation among numismatists that this coin may have been an intentional test piece that was accidentally released, or a deliberately struck error intended for internal mint evaluation that found its way into public hands, which would make it a mint error of scandalous origin, a potential breach in protocol that only fuels the mystique and lore around the coin's past. And beyond the errors, the coin's preservation is miraculously high despite all its turmoil. Graded a near perfect MS67 by a leading third-party grading service, it stands as not just one of the most error-laden coins of all time, but also one of the best preserved, and with a lustrous surface, sharp detail, and powerful eye appeal, it has captivated the elite collecting community, with wealthy private collectors and museums alike bidding for ownership, causing its value to rise dramatically from initial estimates of 6 figures into the multi-million-dollar range, and ultimately resulting in its latest appraisal of $5 million, a sum reflective not just of the coin's physical attributes, but also of its story, its aura, its impossible combination of minting disasters, and its place as a freak occurrence in the otherwise highly controlled world of U.S. coinage. And among all modern quarters, none have surfaced with this cocktail of errors and mysteries packed into one specimen, making this 1989 P-era quarter not just rare, but likely singular in existence. And when a coin reaches that level of singularity, with no known twin, no equal, and no precedent, its value is no longer bound by guides or market averages. It becomes a piece of history, an artifact of human error, mechanical failure, and sheer luck. And when such a coin crosses paths with a collector who recognizes its worth, price becomes secondary to possession, and that is exactly what happened in this case, where a prominent private buyer, rumored to be a tech billionaire with a passion for rare numismatic anomalies, stepped forward with the record-shattering offer of $5 million to acquire what he called the unicorn of quarters. And though the identity of the buyer and the seller remain closely guarded, what has been confirmed is that the sale occurred through a major numismatic auction house under private terms, and the coin has since been vaulted under strict climate control and security conditions to preserve its historic integrity. And now only digital images and its legend remain accessible to the wider public, making it a ghost coin of sorts. One we know exists, but which most will never see in person, and for the rest of us, its legacy serves as a reminder of the endless possibilities that lie hidden in our everyday change, proving that even the most mundane coins in our pockets can turn out to be hidden treasures. And it inspires the global coin hunting community to keep looking, keep searching, and never overlook a single coin, no matter how ordinary it may appear. Because as this $5 million 1989 P quarter shows, value is not always on the surface, it's in the details, the anomalies, and the stories that coins can tell. So next time you find a quarter, flip it over, study it, weigh it, hold it to the light, because just maybe, you'll discover the next great error coin, the next multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight, and perhaps your life could change forever. Next, 1983 P quarter dollar coin. Today's episode will truly blow your mind because we are diving deep into the unbelievable story of a 1983 P Washington quarter, a coin minted in Philadelphia, with a face value of just 25 cents. Yet due to a perfect storm of errors, anomalies, striking defects, minting chaos, and a swirl of historical and mechanical circumstances, this single coin is now worth an astonishing $3 million, a value so incredibly high that it has startled even the most seasoned collectors, left experts stunned, and created waves across the coin collecting world. And if you thought valuable coins only existed in ancient history or old gold specimens, think again, because this modern era quarter proves that mistakes, even recent ones, can be worth more than their weight in gold. And what makes this coin even more electrifying is not just its value but the deep, intricate, and layered complexity of the minting mistakes that led to its creation and eventual discovery, because every error, every misstep in the production process, every overlooked anomaly contributed to what many experts now refer to as one of the most impressive and possibly unique error coins of the modern American era. And to understand just how rare and miraculous this 1983 P quarter is, we must go back in time to the early 1980s, when the U.S. Mint was dealing with multiple production issues including budget constraints, aging machinery, planchet shortages, experimental changes, and transition-related defects. And in the midst of all this came the 1983 series, with the Philadelphia Mint producing hundreds of millions of quarters for circulation, most of them perfectly ordinary, utterly unremarkable, and destined to rattle around in cash drawers and pockets for decades without ever drawing attention. But among these millions was one coin that was anything but ordinary, a coin that became an unintended masterpiece of error. And it all began with the planchet, the metal blank used to strike the coin, which was unlike any standard quarter planchet, because somehow this coin was struck on an experimental transitional blank, possibly a leftover from a foreign coin contract or a rejected test composition, resulting in a coin that did not match the copper-nickel-clad standard used for quarters, but rather exhibited strange weight inconsistencies, odd metallic composition traces including zinc, tin, and possibly a faint silver residue, which instantly caught the attention of metallurgists, who confirmed that the planchet alone made the coin a significant anomaly. And then, adding to the chaos, the strike itself was completely off. The coin displays an unmistakable double strike, with one of the most dramatic misalignments ever seen on a Washington quarter, where the first strike appears fully centered and the second strike is significantly off-center by almost 50%, creating a visual distortion that stretches and duplicates the portrait of George Washington, causing his profile to appear twisted and surreal, while also overlapping with the Liberty inscription and warping the "In God We Trust" motto into an unreadable but captivating mess of letters. And the reverse side is no less dramatic, featuring a partial blockage error where instead of the usual eagle design, we see a faint, mirrored negative image of the obverse, caused when a previously struck coin failed to eject and instead served as an unintentional die, pressing its reverse impression into the newly struck coin, creating a stunning mirror ghost effect that collectors covet for its rarity and visual intrigue. And then comes the die clash, a situation where the coin dies themselves slam together without a planchet in place, resulting in transfer design elements being imprinted onto the wrong sides of the dies, which then struck this coin and left ghostly outlines of Washington's profile on the reverse and fragments of the eagle's wings appearing behind his neck on the obverse, adding another rare layer of unintentional artistry that can only be described as spectacular. And as you rotate the coin under a light, yet another mistake becomes apparent. The coin has a noticeable die rotation error, meaning that the reverse is not properly aligned with the obverse when the coin is flipped, and the rotation on this specimen is nearly 90 degrees, which alone makes it a highly desirable collector item. And then there's the mint mark, the P4, Philadelphia, unusual on its own because in this particular case, it appears to be either tripled or shifted, resulting in a bizarre, layered appearance of the letter that numismatists identify as a rare RPM or repunched mint mark. And what's more, under high magnification, collectors and grading experts discovered light machine doubling on almost all of the obverse lettering and the date, 1983, where the numbers appear to have ghost-like shadows beside them, hinting at worn or loose dies. During the striking process, and beyond visual anomalies, the coin also possesses severe planchet flaws, including visible laminations, sections of the coin where the metal appears to be peeling or flaking, caused by improper bonding during the planchet preparation process, and these raised and cracked areas add a rugged, war-torn texture to the coin that only enhances its mystique, and incredibly, the rim of the coin is irregular and incomplete, with what experts call a partial collar strike, meaning the coin was not fully enclosed by the retaining collar during striking, leading to a coin that is wider in some areas, thinner in others, and oval in shape rather than perfectly round, a highly unusual error that rarely coincides with so many others on a single coin. And beyond the physical, the coin's condition is shockingly high, preserved in mint state despite all of these production disasters, having never circulated, likely plucked from a fresh bank roll or Federal Reserve bag by someone with a sharp eye who recognized that something was very wrong, or very right, about this coin, and upon grading, the coin received an MS65 Plus rating from one of the top grading services, a remarkable achievement considering the chaotic and error-filled state of the coin, and yet that high grade only adds to its mystique and value. And once this coin was publicly revealed at a major numismatic convention, it caused an immediate stir, drawing attention from high-end collectors, museums, and even historians who saw in it not just a coin, but a living example of minting history gone awry, and offers for the coin began flooding in, initially starting in the tens of thousands, then breaking into six figures, and eventually reaching into the millions, with a final reported private sale of $3 million to a reclusive West Coast tech billionaire who collects mint errors and described this coin as the perfect storm of imperfection, a phrase that has now been adopted by collectors when referring to this masterpiece of minting chaos, and experts agree that the odds of so many high-grade, dramatic, and diverse errors occurring on a single coin, double strike, brockage, die clash, rotated die, misaligned collar, repunched mint mark, planchet lamination, off-metal composition, machine doubling, and partial rim, all while the coin remains in high mint state condition, are astronomically low, making it highly likely that this 1983 P quarter is a one-of-a-kind specimen, with no known equals. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything. Scarcity drives value, and when a coin is not just rare but potentially singular, it transcends the market and enters the realm of legend, becoming not just a collector's piece but a cultural artifact. And for collectors, the coin's mystique is more than just the sum of its errors. It tells a story of how even in the tightly controlled, highly mechanized, and regulated process of U.S. coinage, mistakes can still happen, machines can still malfunction, oversight can still occur, and when those rare moments align just right, what emerges is not just an error but a miracle. And so the story of the $3 million 1983 P quarter lives on, inspiring collectors to keep searching, to examine their change carefully, to dig through coin rolls, visit flea markets, attend estate sales, and never overlook the humble quarter. Because if one extraordinary piece like this could escape the mint and make its way into the world, then maybe, just maybe, another is still out there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be pulled from obscurity and elevated to fame, fortune, and legendary status. And that is why the hunt continues, the excitement builds, and the dream of discovering a fortune in pocket change remains as powerful and real as ever, fueled by the incredible story of the 1983 P quarter that defied logic. Next, 1988 P quarter dollar coin. Today we are exploring an absolutely fascinating and astonishing case that has captured the imagination of coin collectors, historians, error specialists, and numismatists across the globe. because the subject of our attention is none other than the seemingly ordinary yet shockingly valuable 1988 P. Washington quarter, a coin minted in Philadelphia with an original face value of only 25 cents, but thanks to a baffling combination of minting errors, production defects, striking irregularities, and deeply unusual characteristics, this particular specimen has skyrocketed in numismatic value to an astonishing and almost unbelievable $2 million, a figure that might seem outrageous to some, but becomes entirely reasonable when you uncover the deep layers of what makes this coin such a true treasure. And as we peel back the intricate web of factors that led to the creation and eventual discovery of this rare error coin, we begin to appreciate not just the chaos that can sometimes erupt inside the tightly controlled environment of a U.S. Mint facility, but also the serendipity and rarity required for a flawed coin to escape into circulation in such a condition. And with the 1988 P quarter, that's exactly what happened, as the perfect storm of minting mishaps unfolded during a period when the mint was grappling with aging machinery, high production quotas, quality control inconsistencies, and an influx of planchets intended for experimental or foreign use, and this exact coin somehow embodies all of those variables, beginning with the very foundation of its composition, because rather than being struck on the standard copper-nickel-clad planchet that most Washington quarters are minted on, this specific piece was determined through metallurgical testing to be struck on an off-metal planchet, likely one used for foreign contract coinage, which has a distinctly different weight and metallic composition, containing traces of bronze, zinc, and even a minor presence of tin, indicating it may have been a leftover planchet from a different minting contract altogether, and already that places it into an elite tier of rare off-metal errors. But what elevates its status to astronomical value is the succession of multiple and compounding errors that occurred at the striking stage, starting with a dramatic double strike, where the coin received its first strike in a nearly centered position, but before it could be ejected, it rotated approximately 75 degrees and was struck again, producing two overlapping images of George Washington's profile, creating a doubled face effect where the nose, jawline, and neck all appear duplicated and misaligned in a visually stunning and chaotic fashion, while the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, appear to have been ghosted and dragged by the force of the second impact, resulting in a scrambled and almost illegible set of legends. And on the reverse side, where the heraldic eagle normally stands proud and symmetrical, the bird appears twisted, elongated, and incomplete, as the secondary strike pushed parts of the design off-center, while leaving behind blurred, duplicated outlines of the eagle's wings and tail, and the phrase, United States of America, appears partially doubled and warped, while the denomination, quarter dollar, is squeezed toward the rim with portions fading into the collar. And speaking of collars, this coin also exhibits a rare partial collar strike, meaning that during the strike, the retaining collar that holds the planchet in place either malfunctioned or was improperly aligned, causing the metal to spread irregularly outward on one edge while remaining constrained on the opposite edge, producing an oval or egg-shaped coin with rim thickness that varies dramatically from one side to the other. And this partial collar strike also allowed the rim lettering and denticles to warp and distort, further amplifying the bizarre appearance of this piece. But that's just the beginning, because under close examination, die clash marks were found on both the obverse and reverse fields, indicating that the dies struck each other directly without a planchet in place prior to striking this coin, which transferred ghostly images of Washington's bust onto the reverse die and vice versa. And so in the fields surrounding the eagle, collectors can observe faint but unmistakable traces of Washington's profile, particularly the neckline and ponytail ribbon, and on the obverse side, right behind the head and under the motto, parts of the eagle's wing and shield can be faintly observed, and such die clash errors are uncommon, but when combined with other major strike errors, they elevate the rarity and desirability exponentially. And in addition to that, experts identified several areas of machine doubling on the date 1988 and other obverse elements, where the digits appear split with a shadow effect. That indicates worn die mechanics rather than true hub doubling, though there are some that argue that minor class 4 doubling may be present, further adding to the diagnostic complexity of the coin. And as we continue our analysis, we find yet another jaw-dropping error on the rim of the coin in the form of a retained cud, where a portion of the obverse die broke away near the edge but remained in place long enough to strike several coins, including this one, causing a large raised area of extra metal near the rim that disrupts the design and adds an unmistakable visual bump to the coin, a dramatic feature that collectors pay enormous premiums for, especially when accompanied by other errors. And indeed, the presence of so many simultaneous minting mistakes on a single coin has led many experts to describe this coin as a perfect storm specimen, where every known mechanical error possible occurred in one freak production event, and even the mint mark, the small p, indicating the Philadelphia Mint, shows signs of being repunched multiple times, possibly due to manual mint mark punching techniques still in use during the transitional era, and this resulted in a ghostly stair-step appearance to the letter P, which is clearly visible under magnification. And then we turn to the coin's physical condition, which is another rarity in itself, because despite all the catastrophic errors and production failures, the coin remains in stunning mint state, with no signs of post-mint damage, no circulation wear, no corrosion or environmental damage, and that high-level preservation means the coin likely never entered circulation but was pulled from a fresh mint roll, perhaps by a diligent bank teller, coin roll hunter, or mint employee, and stored away until professional grading could confirm its incredible details. And when it was finally submitted to one of the top grading services in the world, it not only received a certified grade of MS66, but also a detailed error description that includes multiple strikes, off-metal planchet, partial color, retained cud, die clash, repunched mint mark, and machine doubling, and this classification of multiple major errors on a single coin placed it in a category so exclusive that few, if any, comparables exist in the known collecting world, which is why when the coin was privately offered to a small circle of elite error coin collectors, bidding quickly escalated into the seven-figure range, with the final agreed sale price landing at a jaw-dropping $2 million, an amount that reflects not just the rarity and uniqueness of the piece but also the passionate demand among top collectors who are eager to own a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history. And since its discovery and authentication, this coin has been featured in prominent numismatic publications, collector forums, convention panels, and even academic studies on U.S. mint production failures, making it not only a valuable collectible but also a widely studied artifact of monetary history. And what makes it even more thrilling is the idea that other valuable errors like this one may still be hiding out there, undiscovered in someone's change jar, tucked away in old rolls, or buried deep in a forgotten coin collection, waiting for someone with a keen eye to spot the unusual weight, the doubled letters, the warped rim, the off-center strike, or the mysterious metal composition that could signal the presence of a treasure. And that's what makes coin collecting such an addictive and thrilling pursuit, because every coin tells a story, and some coins tell a story worth millions, and this 1988 P quarter is a shining example of that truth, reminding us all that even a simple, common coin can contain a world of mystery, drama, error, and ultimately immense value. And as more people become aware of the incredible potential hiding in their change, the hunt intensifies, the passion grows, and the world of rare coins continues to fascinate new generations of collectors. Next, 1987 P quarter dollar coin. Today we have a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. A tale so astonishing and rare that it has sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community, with experts, collectors, historians, and curious treasure hunters all taking notice of a seemingly ordinary yet mystifyingly priceless 1987 Washington quarter dollar. A coin that was minted in Philadelphia and carries a humble face value of 25 cents, but due to a bizarre and unique convergence of minting errors, planchet anomalies, production flaws, and mind-bending irregularities, this very coin is now valued at a staggering $4 million and is considered one of the most phenomenal, enigmatic, and mysterious error coins to ever escape the high-security vaults of the United States Mint. And in this episode, we're going to explore every crack, crevice, and microscopic imperfection that led to this stunning valuation, unraveling the complex tapestry of mistakes, overlooked details, unintentional artistry, and historic circumstances that collided to birth this multi-million-dollar coin that defies logic and challenges every assumption we hold about minting quality control and coin production in the modern era. Because while hundreds of millions of 1987 quarters were struck and released for commerce as part of the normal flow of circulating currency, and while the vast majority of them remain utterly ordinary and hold no premium, even to the most generous collectors, this particular coin, this singular example, emerged as a complete outlier, a minting accident of such magnitude and layered uniqueness that its discovery has become the subject of documentaries, research papers, collector forums, expert debates, and private auctions, with every new detail only fueling the curiosity, fascination, and astronomical rise in its valuation. And what makes this coin so uniquely valuable begins with a critical planchet error that is immediately detectable by its off-weight and metallic composition, because unlike the standard clad copper-nickel composition used for modern quarters, this coin appears to have been mistakenly struck on a transitional planchet possibly intended for a foreign coinage program or experimental internal use, as metallurgical analysis revealed an unusual blend of copper, zinc, and traces of silver, suggesting this planchet was never meant for a U.S. quarter, and that its presence in the quarter production line was either a major error or a breach of minting protocol, and this alone is rare enough to merit serious collector attention. But the story grows far deeper and far more unusual as we examine the strike itself, because this 1987 quarter displays one of the most dramatic double strike errors ever documented, with the first strike being fully centered and sharp, while the second strike landed at a 30-degree clockwise rotation and about 75% off-center, resulting in a coin with overlapping images of George Washington's profile, distorted legend letters like Liberty and In God We Trust, bending and stretching in surreal patterns, and an obverse image that appears almost ghost-like as Washington's face looks as if it's melting or shifting in motion like a long-exposure photograph. And as remarkable as that is, the reverse is even more chaotic, with the heraldic eagle appearing split, duplicated, and layered in such a way that one wing appears over the denomination. The arrows it clutches are visible on the opposite rim, and parts of the eagle's beak are smeared into the word quarter, creating a nightmarish fusion of elements that numismatists refer to as an unintentional masterpiece. And if that wasn't enough to make the coin rare, add the fact that it also displays evidence of die clash, where the coin dies struck each other without a planchet in between and left behind mirror images of their designs on one another, which were then partially transferred onto this coin. So now you have ghostly outlines of the eagle visible behind Washington's head and fragments of text appearing in places they don't belong, a phenomenon both eerie and fascinating to coin specialists. And when you turn the coin slightly under a light, another error becomes evident, a classic case of misaligned dies, which means the top and bottom dies were not properly aligned during the striking process, causing the obverse and reverse to be slightly rotated in relation to each other, a defect that is subtle yet unmistakable, and one that collectors adore for its rarity. And now add the breathtaking find of a retained cud. This is when a piece of the die is broken off but is still present during striking, resulting in a dramatic raised lump of metal on the coin's edge. and in this case the cut spans from the top right of the obverse to the rim, covering part of the date and obliterating sections of the rim denticles, which not only enhances the error appeal but also provides physical proof of the failing die state that likely contributed to all the other defects. And then comes the most mysterious part of all, a phantom mint mark phenomenon, where the P mint mark appears to have been repunched not once or twice, but possibly 4 times in slightly different positions, creating what is known as a quadruple punched mint mark, a visual rarity of extreme magnitude, with each P shadow slightly misaligned with the next, forming a stair-step ghosting effect under magnification, and experts believe this happened due to a faulty mint-mark punch tool that was either misaligned repeatedly or used on an unstable die setup. And beyond that, the surface of the coin features several curious lamination cracks. These are fissures in the metal where the clad layers have begun to peel or separate, often due to impurities or bonding failures. And they give the coin a battle-worn appearance that collectors love, as it tells a story of industrial imperfection and raw mechanical flaws, and further inspection reveals micro-doubling on almost all the obverse lettering, from Liberty to the date 1987, where each letter and number appears slightly split or shadowed due to die deterioration or misalignment, a textbook case of hub doubling that, in combination with all other errors, makes this coin a true supernova of minting mistakes. And when it was first discovered, accidentally found in a roll of quarters obtained from a regional bank in Pennsylvania, it was thought to be just another curiosity until an experienced coin dealer got hold of it and realized its potential, sending it off for professional grading, where it received not just an MS grade in the 65+ range but also multiple error designations, and it instantly went viral in coin collecting circles, drawing attention from top-tier numismatists and institutions. And what followed was a series of escalating private offers, starting from 5 figures, then 6, until one anonymous investor with a passion for error coins reportedly offered $4 million for sole ownership and museum rights, sealing the deal and ensuring the coin's place in history as not just a rare specimen, but a true modern legend. And what makes this coin even more fascinating is the ongoing debate about whether it was a pure accident or possibly a deliberate test piece that somehow slipped into circulation, with some theorists speculating it may have been an experimental strike gone wrong, or a training coin for new mint employees that was accidentally bagged and distributed to banks. And whether you believe in the accidental chaos theory or the controlled test hypothesis, the end result is the same. This coin stands alone as a majestic blunder, a Frankenstein creation of unintended beauty, a monument to what happens when the unforgiving world of industrial minting collides with unpredictable variables. And it's this level of intrigue, physical evidence, documented uniqueness, and historic curiosity that justifies its multi-million-dollar price tag, making it not only one of the most expensive quarters ever sold, but also one of the most educational pieces for future generations of collectors, metallurgists, and historians to study, admire, and learn from. And its legend will only continue to grow as more people hear about the 1987 P quarter that turned a bankroll find into a multi-million-dollar moment of glory, a modern-day treasure that proves beyond any doubt that the world of coin collecting still has untold stories, still hides surprises in the most unexpected places, and still offers the dream that your pocket change could hold a fortune, that a simple, forgotten quarter could one day be the centerpiece of global attention. And with that, we remind every viewer, every collector, every curious explorer of numismatics, never underestimate a coin just because it looks ordinary. Next, 1990 P $quarter coin. Today, we take you into the unbelievable world of the 1990 P Washington quarter, a coin that was minted in the Philadelphia Mint in the year 1990, carrying a face value of only 25 cents. Yet due to a truly remarkable and unimaginable sequence of minting errors, flaws, mechanical failures, overlooked production defects, and rare anomalies. This single coin has achieved an astonishing market value of $3 million. Yes, you heard that right, $3 million for a single quarter. And as we peel back the layers of this rare coin's mystery, you'll see how such an astronomical price is not only justified but absolutely fascinating when you understand what makes this coin so unique, so rare, and so historically significant in the world of numismatics. Because while hundreds of millions of quarters were minted in 1990, only one, or at most a minuscule handful, exhibits the same perfect storm of striking issues, die failures, planchet mistakes, design anomalies, and misaligned errors that define the jaw-dropping story of the $3 million 1990 P quarter. And it all starts with the planchet, which is the blank metal disc that gets transformed into a coin during the striking process. And in this case, the planchet used for this rare quarter was not the standard copper-nickel clad that is typical for quarters, but an off-metal composition that includes traces of silver and zinc, indicating it may have been a leftover or a misfed blank from a foreign coinage program or experimental test batch. And what's shocking is that metallurgical analysis revealed that the weight of the coin was slightly heavier than normal, not by much, just enough to be caught by an attentive collector who realized something wasn't right when the coin felt slightly different in hand. And that subtle anomaly opened the door to the discovery of more than a dozen unique and valuable errors, beginning with a dramatic double strike where the coin was struck once, then failed to eject properly, and was struck again with a rotation of nearly 45 degrees, causing the features of Washington's profile to appear twice, one bold and centered, the other shadowed and skewed, resulting in a ghost-like image that distorts the Liberty lettering stretches "In God We Trust" and produces a date that looks like it's being sucked into a whirlpool. And on the reverse side, the heraldic eagle is no longer centered but appears duplicated, with the arrows and olive branches split into bizarre patterns across the surface, and the denomination, quarter dollar, is doubled and off-kilter, producing what collectors call an overstrike illusion. And as if that weren't enough, this same coin exhibits a rare die clash error, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the opposing die on each other. So now, within the coin's fields, you see faint impressions of the eagle's wings behind Washington's head, and outlines of his face subtly embossed on the reverse, creating a surreal, haunting effect that's unmistakably rare. And adding to this mystique is a dramatic off-center strike, in which the coin was not properly centered within the striking chamber, leading to a 10% off-center design that causes the rim to be partially missing on one side and overly thick on the other, while portions of the motto are shaved off into the edge, creating a partial collar error, which gives the coin a warped, oval appearance rather than the typical circular shape. And these multiple striking anomalies happen to converge on a single planchet, which in itself is nearly unheard of. And to make matters even more astonishing, the P min mark appears to be quadruple punched, each punch slightly offset from the others, creating a blurry staircase effect on the mint mark that reflects either a misaligned mint mark punch tool or an unstable die used over multiple shifts. And die experts who examine the coin under extreme magnification confirm that these layers of mint mark placement were not caused by post-mint damage but are genuine, mint-originated varieties, which alone can drive a coin's value into the tens of thousands. And then comes the dramatic retained cud. A section of the die broke off and remained in place, causing a large blob of raised metal near the rim that engulfs part of the date and the first few letters of Liberty, making it one of the boldest cud errors ever found on a modern quarter. And further under microscopic inspection, we see widespread machine doubling on both the obverse and reverse legends, where letters appear split, doubled, and twisted, especially around the words United States of America and E pluribus unum, and die cracks run like rivers through the coin's surface, particularly from Washington's temple to the rim, and across the eagle's wings, indicating severe die fatigue and adding even more collector appeal. And if that weren't enough, the coin also exhibits lamination flaws where parts of the clad surface are peeling away, revealing irregular underlayers of the metal, a sign of planchet impurity or bonding failure during the planchet production process. And all of these things together, off-metal planchet, double strike, off-center strike, die clash, quadruple punch mint mark, retained cud, machine doubling, die cracks, lamination, and partial collar, make this coin one of the most error-rich modern quarters ever recorded. And yet it's not just about the errors themselves, but the fact that they all exist in stunning mint state condition, as if the coin somehow escaped circulation and was preserved from the very moment it left the mint, discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who knew this wasn't just another quarter, but a true modern marvel. And once this coin was sent to a professional grading service, it received a designation of MS66 with multiple error notations, and word quickly spread through collector forums, auctions, conventions, and numismatic publications, sparking a frenzy of interest as investors and collectors alike tried to get their hands on what many now consider to be the rarest and most valuable 1990p quarter known to exist. And when the coin eventually sold through a private auction, the hammer price shocked the industry. $3 million paid by a well-known collector of modern U.S. mint errors, who considers the coin the crown jewel of his entire portfolio. And now, this legendary quarter has become a symbol of what's possible when you pay attention to details. When you look at every coin not just as currency but as a potential piece of minting history. Because the world of error coins is one of infinite possibility, where even a small mistake in a giant minting facility can result in something truly priceless. And as more and more people learn about this coin, from casual hobbyists to serious numismatists, the value of the 1990p quarter continues to climb not only in dollars, but in influence, becoming a modern legend in the coin collecting world, featured in articles, documentaries, expert panels, and online auctions as one of the greatest error coin discoveries in recent memory. And while it's impossible to predict whether another similar coin will ever surface, the mere possibility has reignited interest in searching through coin rolls, checking change, visiting local coin shows, and digging through old collections. Because the next multi-million-dollar mistake might be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer right now. And that's the magic of coin collecting. It's a hobby, a passion, and a treasure hunt all rolled into one, where history, science, art, and luck collide in the most unexpected and rewarding ways. And as we close this chapter on the mind-blowing, heart-racing, unbelievable story of the 1990p quarter worth $3 million, we invite you to keep looking, keep dreaming, and most of all, keep learning, because every coin tells a story, and some coins, like this one, tell a story worth 1980p $quarter coin. Today we delve deep into a remarkable and almost mythical coin that has sent ripples across the numismatic community and electrified collectors, historians, and enthusiasts with its unmatched rarity, fascinating story, and unbelievable value. Because in this episode, we're talking about the incredibly rare and mind-blowingly valuable 1980p Washington quarter, a coin that, despite its humble beginnings with a face value of just 25 cents, has become a multi-million-dollar legend thanks to a perfect storm of errors, mistakes, anomalies, and historical circumstances that all collided in one jaw-dropping instance of minting chaos. And the result is a coin that has now fetched an extraordinary $2 million in a private collector's market, earning it a place among the most famous and highly prized error coins in the world. And what makes this coin so important isn't just the number it sold for, but rather the incredible journey it took to get there. Starting with its creation in the Philadelphia Mint during a period of high-volume production and aging equipment, where the demands on mint staff and machinery were pushed to the limit, resulting in occasional and often overlooked inconsistencies that were rarely expected to make it into circulation. And in the case of the 1980p quarter, those inconsistencies were not just present, they were monumental. Beginning with the most fundamental deviation, the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, a foreign metal blank that was never intended to be used for United States currency, and metallurgical analysis later confirmed that the planchet used was likely a leftover from a foreign contract minting run, composed of a bronze-aluminum alloy that has a distinctly different weight, tone, and resonance compared to the standard copper-nickel-clad planchet used for U.S. quarters. And this alone would be enough to elevate the coin to rarity status, but that was only the beginning, as the coins' obverse and reverse also exhibited significant doubling due to a dramatic double strike that occurred out of collar, meaning that after the first strike, the coin shifted position slightly and received a second blow from the dies without being fully secured by the retaining collar, causing the images and inscriptions to overlap, shift, and warp in ways that are both visually striking and numismatically significant. And when you examine this coin under magnification, you immediately see that George Washington's profile has an eerie shadow effect, with two overlapping sets of features including doubled lips, nose, and chin, while the word Liberty appears stretched and ghosted, and the date 1980 shows signs of mechanical doubling combined with possible hub doubling, resulting in a layered, three-dimensional effect that is truly rare and almost never seen in such clarity. And on the reverse, the eagle is equally disoriented, with wing tips that appear doubled and distorted, a shield that seems to be partially offset, and inscriptions like United States of America and $quarter that show jagged edges and split impressions due to the chaotic striking process. And adding to the coin's anomaly is a distinct partial collar error that caused one edge of the rim to be higher and more raised than the opposite edge, producing a lopsided, thick and thin appearance that collectors immediately recognize as a valuable minting defect. And as if that wasn't enough, further inspection reveals clash marks from die collisions, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in place before this coin was struck, leaving behind subtle but undeniable phantom impressions of the eagle's wings on the obverse and Washington's ponytail outline on the reverse fields. And in numismatics, this is known as a die clash error, and is a coveted feature especially when combined with other mistakes, which this coin has in abundance. And moving deeper into the analysis, the planchet's off-metal characteristics cause the strike pressure to behave unpredictably, leaving areas of incomplete design fill, where some parts of the coin look weakly struck or faded, particularly in the motto, "In God We Trust," where the letters appear ghostly and only partially formed, giving the coin a haunting, ethereal quality. And yet, despite all these apparent flaws, the coin has survived in near pristine condition, showing virtually no signs of circulation or environmental damage, and this level of preservation suggests that it was likely pulled from a mint roll or bag shortly after production, stored safely, and preserved in a controlled environment, which is extraordinarily rare for a coin of such flawed origins. And when it was eventually submitted to a leading grading authority, it received a mint state 65 grade, an impressive rating made even more valuable by the extensive list of documented mint errors on the certification label, including double strike, off-metal planchet, partial collar, die clash, and doubling, making this coin a numismatic unicorn. And to appreciate its full significance, one must also understand the broader context of 1980, a year of transition and strain within the U.S. mint system, when equipment upgrades were lagging, demand for coinage was high, and internal audits later revealed that quality control procedures were inconsistently applied across multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, where this coin originated, and documents from that time indicate that the Philadelphia Mint occasionally mixed foreign coinage contracts with domestic production lines, which increased the risk of foreign planchets entering U.S. coin presses. And that's exactly what appears to have happened here, further bolstering the case that this coin is a byproduct of a rare and historic operational lapse. And from the collector's standpoint, All these features combined, the wrong metal, the double strike, the color failure, the die clash, the high-grade preservation, and the historical timing, create a coin that is not only unique but also irreplaceable, which is why, when it finally surfaced at a major private auction attended by high-end collectors and institutions, the bidding war was intense, emotional, and record-setting, with multiple parties vying to secure what they believed could be the centerpiece of any era coin collection in the world. And after dozens of rapid-fire bids, the final hammer price landed at a stunning $2 million, a price that reflects not just the scarcity of the item, but the passion of the collectors and the undeniable magnetism of a truly extraordinary mistake. And since that sale, the 1980p era quarter has become the subject of articles, presentations, and videos, drawing attention from mainstream media, academic researchers, and numismatic authors, who all agree that the coin represents a pivotal moment in U.S. minting history where mechanical failure, human oversight, and historical timing intersected in a single, miraculous artifact, and the legend of the $2 million quarter continues to grow, inspiring countless new collectors to examine their change more carefully, to hunt through rolls with renewed vigor, and to believe that the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And so we encourage you, our dedicated and curious viewers, to keep your eyes sharp, your magnifiers ready, and your knowledge ever expanding, because while coins like this are rare, they are not impossible to find, and history has shown time and again that treasures don't always live behind vaults. They can sit quietly in drawers, jars, or even in the cash register of your local convenience store. And as long as errors continue to occur and curious minds continue to seek them, the world of rare coin discovery will remain one of the most thrilling and rewarding frontiers for collectors, dreamers, and historians alike. And remember that behind every coin is a story, and behind some stories lies the kind of magic that turns 25 cents into $2 million.